now the House is electing the president, Levy Ndou nominating ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa, and Ngabayomze Kwankwa there from the UDM nominating, in fact, Julius Malema, who is the EFF leader. But let's, make sense of where we find ourselves as a country right now and speak to Dr. Levy Ndou, who is a political analyst. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Quite a crucial moment, especially when you are looking at the developments in not only Parliament, but different legislatures across the country.
Good evening, Bongi. Good evening to the viewers at home. Indeed, this is a moment that cannot be avoided. This is part of the process that started many months back, and it has to come this way. I see democracy at play. I see our MPs taking charge of what is supposed to happen as we move the country forward. But what has become very clear for me is that the government of national unity appears to be in full swing, and they've actually started the processes very well. And what appears to have been an agreement at national level is what we actually observing as well as we look at the different provinces. So it appears as if the foundation appears to be very solid, and I think it is time for those who love to join to quickly do so, because it appears as if the train has started the trip, and before it catches the speed, it will be important for those who are still interested to quickly jump in.
Speaking about quickly jumping in, will they have space though?
Well, I think there is sufficient space. When the discussion about the formation of the government of national unity started to resurface, it became very evident that the ANC kept making an emphasis that they would love to work with all political parties or all public representatives. And when I listened to the statements by the Secretary General of the ANC earlier today, he actually emphasized that those who are still interested can still join in. The Deputy President of the EFF, Mr. Shivambu, has indicated also that they are still interested to go and meet with the ANC as a group. So that it tells me that there is still rooms available for discussions to go on, and everybody who is interested to still go and be part of the government of national unity.
So you look at now, as they then are working together, as you say, a province like KwaZulu-Natal, for example, has elected Ndou as its premier. And this, of course, as a lot of people were looking to see what becomes the developments around the MK party. And you look at the numbers, for example, Nkosi Chiliza are getting 39 of the votes there, and Ndou getting about 41. And this has been the trend, even when you see with the speaker, as well as in fact, the nomination as well for the deputy speaker. So this tells us that this working together is also continuing in a province like KwaZulu-Natal, for example. So what lessons should be learned by the politicians, especially when it comes to some of these arrangements in a province like KwaZulu-Natal?
Well, I think what is very important is that in a situation similar to the one we're facing now, political parties should do their best to ensure that they quickly go all out and start negotiating with other political parties if they are interested in forming a government. I'll raise a point of the party like the MK, having performed much better in KwaZulu-Natal and taking time to reach out to other political parties could be the reason they find themselves in this situation. I understand that they had other challenges, but given the period of this process, I think they should have prioritized going all out and have discussions with other political parties. But another lesson is that people who differ and people who would appear to be sworn political enemies have a potential to come together and work together. And that is exactly what we're observing today. But my sense is that those who are the victors are the people of South Africa, because the citizens of South Africa have forced these people to find ways and means to work together. And I'm happy that they've acceded to that call, and they're starting to appreciate the fact that it is possible for them to work together.
It sounds like you say then that the MK party wasted time.
I think it is time that those who think that they cannot work with other political parties should acknowledge that that era is in the past. What should therefore happen, in my view, to all politicians in South Africa is to activate themselves and start understanding that South Africa is moving forward with cooperation amongst political parties having to talk to one another, and that is the direction that has been imposed on us by the citizens. And if you decide not to cooperate or work with others, unfortunately, you might be isolated, like we're seeing with other political parties now.
Speaking about, the working together and the arrangements, you are looking now at the ANC, the DA, the IFP as well, and also the Patriotic Alliance. Given the dynamics with these particular political parties in ideologies as well, how firm is the center that is holding them together right now?
It will mainly depend on the attitude and the degree of maturity of all these politicians. What should be in the minds of all of them is that citizens of South Africa would love to see stability. The citizens of South Africa wants to see service delivery. The citizens of South Africa are saying, find ways and means to work together, and this is the responsibility that is given to them by the citizens of South Africa. And anybody who might think that cannot cooperate with others, that person should know that it won't work. But what is important, in my view, is that these political parties should go all out, sit down, develop a very strong foundation on how they're supposed to work. I know that they're talking about a framework now. If they need to give themselves sufficient time to relook at this framework and ensure that it is built on a very, very solid ground, so that we do not see what we have actually been observing in the many metros of South Africa.
I'm keen to hear your thoughts then on the dynamics, the perceptions, and how things unfolded throughout the day. For example, there have been a number of people who've been asking what form does this government of national unity then take, and lots of questions on that front, and what then happens and becomes of the agreements that would be made right now. Then today, the leader of the Democratic Alliance, John Steenhuisen, coming out to give an address and kind of giving us a sense of the statement of intent and what were some of the agreements. Some say that he upstaged the ANC. Others are saying that maybe they were presenting their own view and where they stand as the Democratic Alliance. But we can't shy away from the reality. But that's where we got more detail from.
Indeed. And my sense also is that John Steenhuisen appeared to be too much excited. He also appeared to be very optimistic about the future. But also at the same time, he had to go all out and account, because he has got a constituency which he must constantly account to. And there is nothing wrong with that. The unfortunate part is that there could be some who would assume that maybe you could be taking a responsibility of acting like a big brother, which has been the problem of the DA in coalitions. And I think as time goes on, we'll therefore need to know exactly who has to speak on behalf of the GNU, and at which times are we therefore going to get reports on the GNU activities, and who is the right person to do so. But at this stage, you have got different political parties that are taking very crucial decisions. Their supporters, members of their parties, would indeed love to know exactly what is happening. It is the same thing that the IFP did. It is the same thing that the NFP did yesterday, and I expect many other parties to follow suit. But what becomes central is that because they've decided to work together, they also need to develop a clear framework in terms of communication, in terms of conflict resolution, and find ways and means to be able to deal with their differences to a certain extent behind closed doors, because when their differences start coming out to the public, that could create very, very serious problems to the government of national unity.
All right, let's see then, as some have said, it's still early days, and the true test as well is going to be seen at local government level, and also when you see developments around some of these political parties and their own dynamics when they look at their own constituents as well. But thank you so much for your time this evening. Do appreciate it. That was political analyst Dr. Levy Ndou.